So now let's take a look at Dreamweaver. We'll go ahead and open that back up again. And now we need to understand how to actually set up your site inside of Dreamweaver. Now, once we set up our site, we're going to do everything from that particular panel. If I need to add files, if I need to add a folder or move things around, I want to do that inside of my files view so that Dreamweaver knows where things are at and it can help update my links for me. So over on the right hand side of my panel, I see my files panel. In my files panel, right now, mine says desktop. I see my computer, I see my network, etc. So I can either click on this little button over here to the side that says Manage Sites, or this is also a drop-down menu. If I click on it and I move all the way to the bottom, it says Manage Sites. Go ahead and click on that. Once this dialog box pops up, I want to create a new site. So I'm going to go ahead and click on New. If you have used Dreamweaver CS4, you'll notice that this dialog box has changed quite a bit. It's much simpler than it was in CS4. This is where I can initially name my folder. So the site that we're going to be working with is a photography user group website. So I'm just going to call this user group just to make it simple. What I name this here doesn't matter at all in the long run. It's just really for me to know what this particular site definition is for. I now need to show Dreamweaver where my root folder is. So if I click on this little button right here, and I can browse for that particular folder, I'm going to go to my desktop where my project files are. I'm going to go into my project files. I'm going to click once on Chapter 3, or on the Mac, I can click on Chapter 3 and say Choose. On the PC here, I can either say Open, or I can right-click and say Select. Then I can choose Select here, and now that will be my path. So my desktop and my project files. I'm going to go to my server setup here. If I click on a little plus sign here, I get to choose what type of server that I have. Is it connected by FTP, local network, RDS? So if I just choose FTP for a moment here, this is going to be our most common type of connection to our remote server. I would give it a server name, my FTP address. So depending on who is hosting your site, your FTP address may be different. It could be a number, it could be FTP dot whatever the site is. It could also just be www dot whatever the site name is .com. I will have a username, I will have a password. Again, that is given to you by the host, whoever is hosting your website. Root directory is the files that you're going to be working with inside of Dreamweaver. So for instance, I may have a much more complicated site in PHP, etc. I may not need to see all of those particular files that are associated with it. So my root directory may be a /, and whatever the file structure is, maybe www, where the actual HTML files are. Once I put in my FTP address, I will also have a web URL specified here. Why I need to do this, or why that should be put into this particular window, is so that Dreamweaver can help me later on in making sure that all of my links are set up and I can do a site-wide report on my root folder and all my files. If I click on More Options, I'm able to see, I'm going to move my window up just a little bit here. I'm able to see if I need to use a passive FTP, particular protocols. Do I need to use an alternative method? Most of the time you won't need to choose these, but if you do, your host should be able to help you with those. If I click on my Advanced tab up here, I can have more information about my remote server. Do I need to maintain synchronization information? What that is going to do for me is be able to synchronize date-wise my files on my local machine as opposed to the files on my remote server, and it will help me keep those up to date so I can make sure that the correct files are in both places. I can, if I would choose, automatically upload files on server on save. Personally, I don't like this checked just because I like a little more control and put the files over on the server when I am ready for those files to be on the server. Otherwise, on save, it's going to just automatically move that file over onto your remote server. You can also enable file check-in and check-out. Now let me click this just for a moment so we can talk about it. This is great if you're working with a team in multiple locations. So for instance, if I am in San Francisco and I have part of my team over on the East Coast, I put my checked out name, I put my email address in so that when I check out a file, somebody can open it and they can look at it and read it and they know that I particularly have it checked out, and then they know not to work on that particular file. It's a locked file, it's a read-only file, and nobody can overwrite it. If I have a local folder, let's say we're all in the same location and I'm using checked in and checked out, I can actually override. It doesn't lock me out of the file. I can open it up, but I at least know that somebody is working on the file at that particular time and I won't make any changes. I can set up my testing server from here. So for instance, I can set up a model for ASP, .NET, Cold Fusion, PHP, JSP, etc. What this will do